Hey Rabbit Ape, this is Michaemus. I have a terrible cold this morning, so my voice is probably going to be cracky and break up. I noticed on your video, Christian Stereotypes, this is a reply to, it looks like, Truth for You to See. Clever name. Clever name. Now, you did a very good job in showing that man has their own moral belief structure, that we can naturally have our support our own beliefs and through our own natural existence, I guess you should say. Now, what's interesting is that the Ten Commandments is an interesting issue for mainstream Christians, in the fact that they're derived from the Old Testament, which is Jewish territory as well. Now, the Jews were actually revealed 630 commandments, and they gave the 10 commandments no more credence than the other 620 that they had. You don't see that, though. These other 620 are ignored. I apologize. That's my daughter in the background. She's bringing me her pig. You don't see any more emphasis placed on these 10 commandments than on these other 620. But for Christians, they have ignored and omitted and decided that these 620 other commandments that were given aren't important for some reason. I don't know exactly where that came from. But here's something interesting that you probably should have mentioned just as a proof that we can determine our own morals is the Namu, the king Namu of the Sumerians. His texts were considered a precursor to the Ten Commandments, and that the Ten Commandments were actually plagiarized from Namu. So as far as that goes, I mean, if you read them, they actually have a couple hundred commandments that are very, very similar to what the Ten Commandments are. I mean, the Ten Commandments are pretty basic. I mean, it's just one part of Jewish law that Christianity decided to take with them. Now, I mean, most of these commandments a person should be able to look at and understand the basic human desire to get along with each other and such. I mean, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal. Nobody wants anybody else sleeping with their wife. Nobody wants to get killed. Nobody wants their son killed. Nobody wants their stuff stolen. Nobody wants to be lied to or have somebody bear false witness against them or have anybody covet their wife. Now, an interesting thing also that I think probably could have been pointed out as well about Truth Guy here is when his definition of covet is interesting, because coveting is when you look at someone else's possessions and desire them to be your own. And he uses that definition when he's referencing just a desire to have something that's not even like money. You can desire to have more money and not be coveting anyone or anybody. There's a difference. Coveting is the desire to steal, or the belief that you deserve that individual's items more than they do. So he kind of missed that whole commandment right there. Now, what's interesting, another thing is Christ says that there's no other God beside me. He never says that there aren't any other gods. In the entire Bible, in fact, it never says that there are not other gods. It says that he's the only God you should be worried about. Now, Christians don't really touch on that basis. They don't go over that. They don't even think of it that way, I bet. But the thing they need to understand is that their entire predisposition of this Bible, I mean, it's been translated and corrupted throughout thousands of years, and who's to say that a majority of it is not simply lore that's been passed down for moral bases and such. So, in closing, I think an excellent point maybe you could use in the future when somebody is saying that the Ten Commandments are outside of man's creation. You should simply say to them, well, how is it that the Sumerians, the first recorded civilization on the face of the earth, thousands of years before these commandments were created, were able to make a similar and comparable record and set of laws to live by. Were they inspired by God? Did God come down to them and inspire them? See, Christ said that following the commandments is good, but you should be able to determine your own morals that are in concert with them and that are maybe even superior to them. The entire thing is, the commandments are a lesser law in Christian viewpoint. You should be able to live beyond the commandments. You should be able to live a more righteous life. How are you going to do that other than determining your own moral basis? So, it's just pretty basic. You look around the world, look at every other culture. They've come up with their own rules and their own laws that are very similar. Killing has always been punishable by death or by other means that are a form of punishment for a crime being committed. And so, it's silly. The argument he's trying to make is silly, and it's easily refuted through historical documentation and cultural representation. And so I'll just leave it at that. You're probably tired of hearing my grainy voice, and my daughter's going crazy, so I'll go to her. Appreciate your time. Appreciate any input you have on this as well. Thanks.